Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. For us to create the largest number, we need to pick the biggest digits for the start of the number. So the biggest digit is 7, then 6, then 4, then 3. But the question says it wants the largest even number, so we need to just swap the last two around to make sure that it is even. So our answer is 7,634. This question's all about like terms. So what we can do is we can add this 10u with this 11u to make 21u. We can also add this 6v with this plus 4v to make 10v. We can also add this 10w to this minus 6w. So 10 take away 6 is 4w, so plus 4w. But we can't add a u term to a v term to a w term. So we have to just leave them be. So our answer is 21u plus 10v plus 4w. But we can multiply them, we just can't add or subtract them. Something to realise in this table we're given in this question is that the triangle has 3 sides, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, and hexagon 6. And that number is just 2 less than the number of faces. So basically, if you've got the number of sides, you add 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6, 5 plus 2 is 7, and 6 plus 2 is 8. So if we've got 20 sides, and we just do the same thing, so we're just adding 2, then we should have 22 faces. So our answer is 22. So a composite bar chart is where you'll stack the bar charts on top of each other. So we're going to start with this 12 here. And so I'm just going to do a bar up to 12. And these lines go up in 2s, so it would be there. And then we're going to do this females. So we've done the males, we're going to do the females. And the females is only going to be 1 high, because they're going up in 2s. And we need a way of showing male or female. So what I'm going to do is just shade the female there, and I'm going to just draw a key. I'm going to say if it's not shaded, it's males. And if it is shaded, it's females. Okay, next we're going to do the 8 and the 4. So what you can do is just do the whole thing, then split it afterwards. So it would be like that. Shade in the females. And then finally we've got a 4 and a 12. And let's shade in the females there. Now don't spend forever on your shading, as long as it's clear which one's male and which one's female. In algebra we don't show the times sign, so 17 times A times B just simply becomes 17AB. This coordinate is telling us to go 2 to the left from the centre. We go right when it's positive, we go left when it's negative, so it's 2 to the right. And then it's telling us to go 1 up. It's up because it's positive. So we need to go 1 up, and we get to the coordinate of B. So the coordinate we get to is B. And so we just look at the minus 2 on the x-axis and the 1 on the y-axis, and that is where point B is. To multiply fractions, all you need to do is multiply the tops. 3 times 7 is 21, and multiply the bottoms. 4 times 11 is 44. We see whether we can simplify this, but actually there's no number that goes into 21 and 44, so it's 21 over 44 is our answer. So what we need to do is find out where the graph is at its highest, and so it's highest here. And so if we go down from there, we find out what year it is. Well, these years seem to be going up in 1, so that's 1950, 1951, 1952. So the answer would be 1952. So we start off by working out what 100% of 240 is. Well, that's obviously going to be 240. And a nice easy one to start off with is 10%. And we're trying to get to 21%, so 10% is always a good one to start with. So we divide by 10, which would be 24. And because we try to get to 21%, we'll need to find out what 1% is. And 1%, we just divide the 10% by 10 again, so it would be 2.4. And then we need to find out what 20% is. And 20%, we just double the 10%, so it would be 48. And so 21% is this plus this, because 1 plus 20 is 21. So we add these together, so 2.4 plus 48. Probably don't need to do this formally. Probably do this in our heads. So 50.4, but it says to increase 240 by that amount. So we need to get 240. We need to add the 50.4. Probably, again, don't need to show the working out for this. We can do this in our heads, but it's a bit easier to see what we're doing. So the answer would be 290.4. So we have a set of vertically opposite angles here and here. And we're going to start with those because we have to find out what m is before we can work out what x is. And vertically opposite angles are always equal, so we've got 13m plus 39 is going to equal 2m plus 149. And we're going to get our lines in there because we're going to solve this. And to solve this, we first of all take away the smaller amount of m, because we've got m's on both sides. We can't really cope with that when we're solving. And so we've got a 13m and a 2m. So we're going to remove the 2m. We're going to take that away from both sides to start off. And so we're left with 11m plus 39. And we've just got the 149 on the right hand side. Next, we're going to remove the number. So take away 39 from both sides. And we've got 11m is equal to 110. And then we're going to divide both sides by 11 to find out what m is. So m therefore equals 10. So we know if m equals 10, we can then work out x. And the way we can do that is the fact that this one and this one are both on a straight line. So they are both on this straight line here. So we know that they've got to add up to 180. So let's write that down. 13m plus 39 plus x is equal to 180 degrees, or I don't normally put that in for the working out, I always put that in for the answer. So we can solve this, or well, first of all, we know what m is, so it'd be 13 times n, which is 130, and then we can solve this. So let's get my solving lines in. And so that's going to be 169 plus x equals 180. And we're going to just take that away from both sides, the 169. So we've got x equals 11. So the value of x will be 11 degrees. So for this question, we just need to pick one of the coordinates. And I'm just going to pick this one here. And we just need to work out what the coordinates are. Well, it's going up in 2, so it's going to be 4 on this side. And this is kind of 4.5, so that's going to be 19 there. So we know it's 19 at the bottom and 4 at the side here. So we're going to have a look on our table for a 4 and a 19. We've got a 19 and 23 here. It's got to be a 4 and a 19, which is here. And it shows that the 4 is for paper 1 and the 19 is for paper 2. So our answer will just be paper 2. We're going to start off by writing the numbers that the dots are at. So we've got minus 12 and we've got minus 5, and x is anywhere between those. Now, it's obviously going to be greater than minus 12, and it's going to be less than minus 5, but it can equal minus 12, and the reason for that is it's a filled in dot, but it can't equal minus 5 because that is a hollow dot. So with this question, I'm just going to write it out a bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. And one of my rules is if you've ever got a fraction or a set of brackets in a question you're trying to solve, always get rid of those first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do myself a little grid to be able to solve these brackets. So we've got a 3 there, 6x and minus 11, and we're timesing them. And we're just going to multiply out the brackets. And if you've got a different technique to do this, that's absolutely fine, use that. 3 times 6x is 18x. 3 times minus 11 is minus 33. So we're just going to rewrite this as 18x minus 33. Now we are solving, so we're going to put our solving lines in. And the first thing I want to deal with is this take away 33. So we're going to do the opposite of that, the inverse, which is plus 33. And whatever you do to the left hand side, you have to do to the right hand side. So we're going to add 33 to both sides. We're left with the 18x on the left hand side because we've got rid of the minus 33. And on the right hand side, we've got 180. Next, we want to get rid of this times 18. So we're going to do that by dividing both sides by 18. On the left hand side, we're left with our x. On the right hand side, we're doing 180 divided by 18, which is 10. So our answer is x equals 10. If we were to write this decimal in the columns, and some of you might not have used these columns in a while, but we have units here, we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, that's all we need. So it's going to be 0.182. Now if you read off the number, it's 182 thousandths. So you would just look at where the last digit is and look at what column it is, and reading the digits from left to right, you can put that number, 182, over that last column, 1000. Okay, so it's 182 over 1000, but they're both even numbers, so we can actually cancel it down. It says it wants it in its simplest form, so we can divide top and bottom by 2. And 182, well 180 divided by 2 is 90, so that's going to be 91. Now I'm not sure, I don't think you can cancel that anymore, so I'm going to put that as my answer, 91 over 500. To get from the length of a square to the area, we square the length. To work backwards, what we do is we square root, because the inverse of square is square root. So we've got 196, and we're going to square root it to find the length. So we work out the square root of 196, which is what number times itself is 196. And you should learn them from 1 to 15, so you should know all of the square numbers from 1 to 15. So you should know that the answer is 14. So the length, therefore, is 14. So to work out what the perimeter is going to be the distance around the square. So if I draw a square out, we know that each of these lengths are 14. So it's just going to be 14 times 4, which will be 56. So we can see that the first 4 of these have already been plotted. Now it's really important that you you do the coordinate the right way around. So the first one is number and then algebra. So we're looking at this coordinate here. We're 18 on number, which would be here, and then 14 on algebra, which would be this point here. 12 on both, so 12 and 12 would be here, and then 21 and 17. So 21 and 17 would be roughly there. We've got to first of all identify whose graph is whose. So looking at the green one hits the y-axis at 6, and it says here that Taxico charges an initial £6 fee, which would tally that up, and AB Taxi says that its initial charge is 12, which is on our graph there. So AB Taxi is blue and Taxico is green. Now it says which is the cheapest to travel 20 miles. So what we're going to do is go to 20 and draw a line up from 20. You can see that the blue line is actually lower than the green line. Okay, it's cheaper. So the blue line is cheaper, and the blue line is owned by AB Taxi. So we've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether. So we're told that the ratio of red, yellow and green is 3 to 2 to 4. So to work out how many parts there are altogether, we do 3 plus 2 plus 4, which is 9 parts. So there's 9 equal piles of sweets. Okay, but to work out what one part or one pile of sweets is worth, we're going to get the 99 sweets and divide it by the amount of piles, and that's going to be 11. So one part is worth 11 sweets. We're asked to find out how many yellow sweets, and yellow is the middle one, so it's going to be the 2. So yellow has 2 piles of 11 sweets. 2 times 11 is going to be 22, so it's going to be 22 sweets. Bearings questions are normally written as find the bearing of destination from a location. So you can see in this question here that the answer is 275. So the line they're taking it from is this line here, this north line, and they're looking at this bearing here. So we currently are at B, and we're looking at the angle of A. So it is find the bearing of A from B would be the question. The median is the middle number when the numbers are in order. Now it's quite difficult to do with a table, so we used a formula, and that formula is to find the position of the median. We do how many numbers there are, which I'll call n, we add 1 to it, and then we divide that by 2. And that shows us where the median is. It doesn't tell us what the median is, it shows us where it is. Now, we need to figure out where these numbers are in this list. So the first number is a 2, and there is 1 of those. The next number is a 3, and there's 3 of those. So 1, 2, 3. The next number is a 4, and there's 4 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The next number is a 5, and there's 8 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the next number is a 6, and there's 13 of those. Now I'm not going to do all of them, okay, because we're not going to be working out the median by writing out all the numbers, but I do want to show you where these numbers are coming from. So what we do is we do a running total. So I'm going to do a running total. The running total is just adding up the frequencies as we go. So the first one is just 1. Then we're going to add the 3 in the next row, so that's 4. Add the 4 in the next row, 8. Add the 8 in the next row, 16. Add the 13 in the next row, and that would be 29. Now, we use the running total because the running total shows us where the last number is in that group. Okay, so this shows us that the first number is the last number that is a 2, which is true, we can see it here. This 4 shows us that the fourth number is the last number that's a 3, so let's check that. 1, 2, 3, 4. It works. This 8 shows us the 8th number is the last number that's a 4. Let's check that. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This 16 shows us the 16th number is the last number that's a 5. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And this 29 here shows us that the 29th number is just the last number, but it's the last number that's the 6th. Okay, so let's work out how many numbers there are. And we do that by adding up the frequency. So we're just going to add up all of the frequency together, and we find out that there's 29 numbers altogether. So 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 8 plus 13. So using our formula, which is 29 plus 1 divided by 2. 29 plus 1 is 30, divided by 2 is 15. So we're looking for the 15th number. So looking down our running total list, well, the last number that's a 4 is the 8th number, so we haven't got to the 15th number yet. And the last number that's a 5 is the 16th number. So if the last number that's a 5 is the 16th number, then surely the 15th must also be a 5. And so our median is 5. To find the surface area of the cuboid, I'm just going to label the faces and do them individually. So we've got A, which is 24 by 13. So we're going to do 24 times 13, which is 312. Next we're going to do B, which is this one at the top, and it's 24 across and 8 is the length. So 24 times 8, which is 192. And finally C on this side here, which is going to be 13 times 8, which is 104. Now notice that the faces all have the exact same face on the opposite side. So this one at the back is also A, this one at the side is also C, and the one at the bottom is also B. So what I'm going to do is add up all the areas of the squares and double it. So to work out the surface area, we're going to do 2 times and then 312 plus 192 plus 104, and that will give me 1,216 centimeters cubed squared, because it's an area. So adjacent angles in a parallelogram add up to 180, and the reason for that is that we've got a set of parallel lines here, and both of these angles are within that set of parallel sides, so they're actually co-interior, interior, or allied angles, whichever you choose to call them, and so we know that they're going to add up to 180. So we're going to do 180, take away the 61 we already have there, which is 119. So our answer is 119 degrees. So we know that 171 is 3 times 3 times 19. And what we do is we just compare 171 with 342. And we know that 171 times 2 is 342. So therefore 342 will have the same prime factors as 171, which is 3 times 3 times 19, but it will also have a times 2 in there. So the answer will be 2 times 3 times 3 times 19. First thing I'm going to do is just draw the square out, and we know the length of it is 10x plus 10, but it is a square, so that's the same all the way around it. But we're also told that the perimeter is 440, so the perimeter is 440. So what we can do is we can work out the perimeter in algebra by multiplying 10x plus 10 by 4, or just adding up the 4 lengths that we've got. So we're going to do 4 times 10x plus 10. But we also know that that is going to be 440, because we're told in the question that the perimeter is 440. So put our lines in, because we're going to solve, and we're just going to start by expanding the brackets. So that'll be 40x plus 40 equals 440. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 40 first, so take away 40 both sides. And so that would be 40x equals 400. And then we get rid of the 40 before the x, so we divide both sides by 40. And we've got x equals 10. So our answer is 10. So here we're asked to find how many bread rolls we can make. We've got 89 kilograms and it takes 0.08 kilograms to make a bread roll. Something we can do is convert these into grams, or we can just keep it at kilograms, but I've got a neat little trick. And the trick is, if you've got a decimal when you're dividing, as long as you do the same thing left and right, you can multiply them by 10 or 100. In this case, we're going to multiply both by 100 because it will make the division a lot easier, because it will make this right hand side, instead of 0.08, it will just make it 8. The reason we can do that is 89 divided by is the same as 89 over 0.08, and as a fraction we can just times top and bottom by 100, so it would be this over 8. So now we can do the bus stop method, so 8 on the outside, and in fact I might use a straighter line here. There we are. And we've got 8,900 on the inside. So 8 into 8 go 1, 8 into 9 go 1, remainder 1, 8 into 10 go 2, remainder 2, and 8 into 20 go 2, remainder 4, and 8 into 40 go 5. Now it says how many bread rolls can we make? Now we can make 1,122 and a half. Well, half doesn't really count, so we're just going to say 1,122 whole bread rolls. Yes, we've got half a bread roll left over, but we are asked how many whole bread rolls can we make. Whenever you have north lines, they will always be parallel. So what we have here is we have a straight line going through two parallel lines, which are our two north lines, and therefore this angle here is going to equal this angle here. And the reason for that is that the two angles are alternate, they're Z angles. So we can say that that is 135, and I always like to try and show the examiner the reasons, so that's because it's alternate angles, and we know also that angles on a point add up to 360, so this red angle represents the bearing of A from B, and so to find this angle out, what we're going to do is just 360 take away 135, and the reason for that is angles on a point equal 360 degrees, and when we work that out we get the answer of 225. So our bearing is 225 degrees. The important thing to realise in this question is that we know a female has been selected, so we can just basically get rid of all of this part of the frequency tree because it's not relevant, because we know a female has been selected. So there's 29 females altogether, and we're looking for the probability that the female chosen at random picked action. So it's just simply 16 over 29. So the rules of indices state that if you have a power inside and outside of a bracket, we just multiply them together. So it's 10 to the power of minus 12 times minus 12. Two negatives make a positive, and 12 times 12 is 144. So I'm going to start just by writing out the equation, and I can put my lines in. Okay, we're asked to make x the subject, so we're going to first of all add 10 to both sides. In fact, I'm just going to move all this over a little bit so I've got a bit more space. Okay, so we're left with m plus 10 on the left hand side, and we've got 1/7 x on the right hand side. Now to get rid of the 1/7, what I can do is just times both sides by 7. So 7 brackets m plus 10 equals x. So x therefore would equal 7 brackets m plus 10, but it says expand your answer fully, so we're just going to expand the brackets, 7m plus 70. So we know that James knows that he has a square, so we can actually get rid of all of this bit. It's not relevant at all to the question. And the question asks, what is the probability that the square is blue? Well, there are 3 blue squares, so it will be 3 over, and how many are there in total? Well, it says the total is 17. So the answer is 3 over 17. To work out the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. Here they are mixed numbers, so all we do is the width times the length. Now when you multiply with fractions, always make them top heavy first, or improper, and to do that you times the big number by the bottom and add it to the top. So we're going to do 1 times 2 and add it to the top, so 3 over 2. Same with this one, 1 times the 3 at the bottom, added to the top. 1 times 3 is 3, add to the top is 5. Now we've got to get the numerator, we don't need to get the numerator the same, we're multiplying. All we do now, really easily, is just multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. So we've got to convert 15 over 6 into a mixed number because it asks for a mixed number. So 15, how many 6's go into 15? Well, we're first of all going to have 2 whole ones, and how many left over? There are going to be 3 left over. Now 3 over 6 is the same as 1/2 because we can divide top and bottom by 3. So our answer is 2.5. To draw a quadratic graph, we want to find as many values as we can. Because it's a curve, with a straight line graph you only need 3 points. With a curve you need as many as you can get. And now we're actually given a table here to fill out, and so I'm going to start off with a 0 here, and here we want to substitute in the x equals 0 into our equation. So we've got y equals x squared plus 11, so it's y equals 0 squared plus 11. 0 squared is just 0, plus 11 is going to be 11. We're going to do the same for 1, so y equals 1 squared plus 11. 1 squared is just 1, 1 plus 11 is 12. Same again for 2, 2 squared plus 11. 2 squared is 4, 4 plus 11 is 15. Now the minuses are a little bit more difficult, but not that much difficult, because when you square a negative you actually get a positive. So minus 1 squared is just 1, 1 plus 11 is 12. And then minus 2 squared plus 11, minus 2 squared is 4, 4 plus 11 is just 15. Now you can see here we get a nice little symmetry, and we're going to plot this onto our graph here. So 11 is going to be here, 12 is going to be here, so both of these are 12, and 15 is going to be here. Now when you join them up, what you want to do is avoid having a V. Okay, in the mark scheme specifically it says that the bottom needs to be nice and smooth, and avoid something called feathering where it looks like that. You just want one smooth line. Now the best way I find of doing it is turn the page sideways, which I can't do with mine, but you can turn your page sideways and just one smooth line, and we're going to do a nice smooth bottom there. And I just need to lift, try not to lift with yours, and that should be good enough for full marks. Let's just try it again, just have a bit more of a lift like that. That's also good, and I can do this all day. Like the ones that are bad are the ones with gaps, or the ones where they miss points. So if you had yours like this where it just missed that point out, or something like that, that would not give you the mark. You just want one nice smooth, just slip there a little bit, nice smooth, and that probably wouldn't, because you can see that I've kind of hesitated there. So it just takes practice, and as I said, if you turn the page sideways, it's a lot easier to draw a C than a U. Okay, so we're going to start by writing this out a little bit bigger, give us a bit more space. So it's minus 6x is less than 60. And we're going to do our tram lines down. And we're going to start by dividing both sides by minus 6. because that's what this is doing. It's timesing the x by minus 6. So I'm going to divide both sides by minus 6. So that gets rid of the minus 6 on the left-hand side. And it's going to be 60 divided by minus 6, which will be minus 10. Now we've got to be really careful here, because whenever you times or divide both sides by a negative, you must switch the inequality. So instead of pointing to the left, it's now going to point to the right. So our answer is x is greater than minus 10. To answer this question, we need to know what an equation, expression, formula, and identity is. So the formula is basically an equation but for real world things. So area equals pi r squared. It's where the letters actually mean something. Expression is just algebra without the equal sign. So 5x plus 3 would be an expression. An equation has an equals and it can be solved. So you can find out what x is or find out what a is. And an identity is true for all values of that letter. So an example would be x times x equals x squared. That's an identity because that's true for all values of x. So looking here on the right hand side, we've got 3x plus 2x. But if we imagine x is 10, so 3x would be 30 plus 2x would be 20, 30 plus 20, well that will equal 5x, 5 times 10. And actually this is true for all values of x. And the reason it's true for all values of x is we know that 3x plus 2x, this right hand side here, equals 5x. They're the same thing. Now normally with an identity, it's shown with 3 lines. Now in the exam, this type of question, it won't be shown with 3 lines because that kind of gives it away that it's an identity. But this question is definitely an identity. And you can't solve it because it's true for all values of x. So yes, x could be 10, x could be a million, x could be a third, x could be anything. If I start by drawing a number line, and we're going to put the 110 in the middle. Now I'm going to label the next one down and the next one up. It says to the nearest 10, so the next one down would be 100, and the next one up would be 120. Now we're interested in the cutoff, and the cutoff point is between the two numbers. Okay, so that's the cutoff point. If it goes above that cutoff point, it would have rounded to the next number up. So if the number was here, it would round to 120. If the number is on the cutoff point, which we can see is going to be 115, then we know it would round up. So we need to find the biggest number in this part here. So this part here, and it includes this line actually, so it includes this line. So all the numbers that would have rounded to 110 would have been 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, which would be here. But if it was 115, it would have rounded to 120. So 114 is the biggest number it could have been before rounding to 120. And we know it didn't round to 120 because in the question it says it's 110 to the nearest 10. So our answer is 114. To find the highest common factor, we're going to first of all just write out the factors of 12. So 1 times 12 is 12. 2 times 6 and 3 times 4. And we're going to do the same with 8. 1 times 8 is 8 and 2 times 4 is 8. So those are all the factors of 12 and 8. And we look at the common factors, so they both have 1, they both have 2, and they both have 4. And so the highest of those is the 4. So the highest common factor is 4. So the first thing to notice with these simultaneous equations is the coefficient of y is the same. And so what we're going to do is just copy out the equations and just make them a bit bigger. And we're really looking at the signs before the 6y's. and we'll eventually be going downwards. Now we're either going to be add or subtracting going downwards, and the point is to get rid of the y's. And these signs, if they are both the same sign, then we're going to subtract. If they are different signs, then we're going to add. So D in different is the D in add, the S in same is the S in subtract. So looking at them, they are both the same, so we're going to subtract. And we don't just subtract these ones, we subtract all of these. So we're going to look at the difference of all of these. So 6x take away 4x is 2x. 42 take away 32 is 10. Get our lines in. And we're going to divide 2 both sides. So 2x divided by 2 is obviously x, which is the whole point, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So x equals 5 is our first solution, but we've got to find out what y is. And to do that, we're going to just substitute in the value of x into the first equation. So we've got 6 times 5 plus 6y equals 42, and then we're just going to solve that. So we get our lines in. And first thing we're going to do is take away the 6 times 5, or take away the 30 from both sides. So we've got 6y equals 12, and then we're going to divide by 6 both sides to get what y equals. So y equals 2. Now we can check that by putting the values of x and y into the second equation. So 4 times 5 plus 6 times 2, and that does equal 32. So we can write this as a fraction, so it would be 2.84 times 10 to the power of 11 over 4 times 10 to the power of minus 2. What we can do is split this up into two fractions, so 2.84 over 4 times 10 to the power of 11 over 10 to the power of 2. Or minus 2. Okay, so we're going to start by doing 2.84 divided by 4. So we're going to just do the bus stop method. So 4 on the outside, and we've got 2.84 on the inside. 4's into 2 don't go, so carry the 2 across. 4's into 28 go 7, and 4's into 4 go 1. So it's going to be 0.71 times, and then the rules of indices say that if you divide two powers of the same base, they're both 10, then you just take away the power. So it's 11 take away minus 2. Now the two minuses, the two takeaways, actually convert to a plus, so it would be 11 plus 2, which would be 13, so it would be 10 to the power of 13. Now we've got a bit of a problem here, because standard form must have a number between 1 and 10, and not including 10, at this position here, and this is obviously less than 1, so we need to convert this into standard form. So what we can do is just write the number out again. So I'm going to write this as an actual number, so it's 10 to the power of 13, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, fill in the zeros. So it would be 7, 1 and all those zeros. And then I'm going to put it back into standard form. Now the decimal point will need to be here to make it 7.1. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's going to be 7.1 times 10 to the power of 12. Now with a bit of practice, you don't need to write out the whole number. You'll be able to just know that if you convert that into 7.1, then you just need to take away 1 from the power. But if you're not sure, and it's not an unreasonable number like 10 to the power of 105, then it's just worth sometimes just writing out the actual number and being 100% sure that you've got it the right way around. So we're told the length of this rectangle is u, and the width is u plus 2. Doesn't matter which way around we do it. And we're told the area is 80. So we can actually write an equation from this. So u times u plus 2, so that's the length times the width, is equal to the area, which is 80. So let's expand this. And what we're going to do is we're going to put everything to the same side. So all I'm going to do here is subtract 80 from both sides. And so we've got u squared plus 2u minus 80 equals 0. Now we're going to be using quadratics, so we're going to factorize this. And so we need two numbers that add together to make 2 and times together to make minus 80. So I'm going to put my brackets out. So we're going to have u at the start of the brackets, and let's have a think. So it's going to be 8 and 10, and one of them will be positive, one of them will be negative. Well, to add them together to make 2, the 10 will have to be positive, and then the 8 would have to be negative, and then minus 8 times 10 is minus 80. Okay, last thing is we get each of our equations equal to, sorry, each of our brackets equal to 0, so we can solve them. Let's just do this in normal colour. So u minus 8 equals 0, and let's solve that. And so we're going to add 8 both sides, and we've got u equals 8. And we're going to do the same for this right hand bracket, so u plus 10 equals 0. Get our lines in, and take away 10 both sides. So u equals minus 10. Now it might get confusing because it says find the value of u, but a length needs to be positive. So this minus 10 is not the correct answer. Our correct answer will be 8. And we can actually check this, because if I fill in the value of 8, so we can have 8 at the top here, and 8 plus 2, which is 10. 8 times 10 is 80. So we know that we've got the right answer. First thing I'm going to do is add these column vectors. So we're going to add the tops first, and then we're going to add the bottoms. So it's plus minus 14. And so at the top it would be minus 4, and 11 take away 14 is minus 3. Then I'm going to pick a point on my shape, and the the top one tells us how far right we're going. So we know we're going 4 to the left because it's obviously a negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one tells us how far up we're going. Well, it's going to be down because it's a minus 3. So 1, 2, 3. And we can do that for each of the other points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And when we've done that, we can join them all up with straight lines. And label the new shape B. So there are two outcomes that it will rain once in the next 2 days, and that will be rain and not rain, and not rain and rain. So to work out the probability, it will rain on Monday and then not rain on Tuesday. What you're going to do is just multiply 6 over 20 by the 2 over 7. So 6 over 20 times 2 over 7. And that will give us 12 over 140. And to work out the probability, it will not rain on Monday and rain on the Tuesday. We're just going to multiply the 14 over 20 by the 5 over 7. And so that would be 14 over 20 times 5 over 7. And that will give us, 70 over 140. Now we're looking for the probability it will rain and not rain, or not rain and rain. The word or in probability means add, so we're going to get that 12 over 140 and add it to the 70 over 140, and that will give us 82 over 140, and then we can cancel that down to 41 over 70. There are two parts to this power. We've got the negative there, which means we're going to find the reciprocal of the fraction, and then we've got that 3 there, which just means we're going to find that as the power. So we're going to first of all flip the fraction, so that's going to become 3 over 5, and we've still got the power 3 there, and then we're going to cube top and bottom. So cubing the 3 gives us 27, cubing the 5 gives us 125. So our answer will be 27 over 125. First thing we notice is that there is a square here, so we can work out what this length is going to be. It's also going to be 40 centimeters. And whenever we're working out the area of a shaded area, we're normally working out the area of 2 shapes and subtracting one from the other. And this question's really no different. So we're going to start off working out the area of the square. And all we need to do now for that is 40 times 40, which will be 1,600 centimeters squared. I normally only put units in our answer. The next thing we're going to do is work out the area of the circle, but to do that we need to work out what the diameter of the circle is, and if you notice that the diameter of the circle is just 40 degrees. It's the same as the width of the square, or height of the square. So if the diameter is 40 degrees, the radius would be 20 degrees. So for the circle, for the area of the circle, we're going to do pi times the radius, which is 20 squared, and 20 squared would be 400, so this will be 400 pi. This question's asking us to leave it in terms of pi, so we're going to do that. Now next we're going to work out the all of the corners, so that includes these 3 here and this one. So I'll say, like, I don't know, 4 corners. Just try and explain to the person marking my exam what I'm doing. And to do that, we're just going to do the square, take away the circle. So 1,600, take away 400 pi. Now we can't actually do anything more than that. That is our answer. So it's just, we just leave it at that. And to work out just the shaded bit, which is this bit here, they are 4 equal amounts that we've got for these corners. So just one corner, which is the shaded bit, will be the 4 corners divided by 4. Now we've got a kind of fraction here. We can divide all of the terms by 4. So that will leave 1 at the bottom, 100 pi here, and this will be 1,600 divided by 4 is 400. So we're just cancelling the fraction, and actually we leave it as 400 minus 100 pi, and that indeed is our answer. You can't simplify that any further. First thing I can do with this question is write it as a fraction, because divide just means over. So we're going to have 42 times 10 to the power of 11 over 7 times 10 to the power of 2. And we can actually split those fractions up. So we've got 42 over 7 times 10 to the power of 11 over 10 to the power of 2. And you can see we're just doing it separately. So 42 divided by 7 is 6 times, and then with dividing, or as a fraction, when we divide powers of the same base, we take away the powers. So 11 take away 2 is going to be 10 to the power of 9. So it's going to be 6 times 10 to the power of 9. What I'm going to start off by doing is rearranging this equation so that it kind of matches this one. So I'm just going to write it down. And we want the n to be minus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my rearranging lines in, and we're just going to add 10 to both sides. Now, we've already got this line drawn for us on this graph. And so all we need to do is draw this line. So we've got y equals 10x squared plus 8x minus 2 drawn for us. We just need to draw this line, which is y equals 10, and see where they cross over to find the solutions. So y equals 10 will be all the way up at the top. Let's just make sure I get it nice. There we are. I need to move that up a little bit. There we are. And let's read off the values that that gives us. So it comes down here, and it comes down here. So the values it comes down to are minus 1.6 and 0.8. And those are our solutions. So we're going to first of all realise that this is a right angle triangle and we've got two lengths and an angle involved, therefore it's going to be trigonometry. So we're going to just label the sides first. The one opposite right angle is the hypotenuse, opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. Now the adjacent doesn't have a number or a letter next to it, so it's not interesting, so get rid of that. Next we're going to do our trigonometry triangles. And so we've got SO, Ka, Toa. And we have just crossed out the adjacent, so we don't need this one and we don't need this one. And we're going to end up with SO, which is short for sine the angle equals opposite over hypotenuse. The angle is marked as x, so sine x equals root 3 over 2. You need to know from memory that sine 60 is root 3 over 2. And notice here that the x therefore is going to equal 60. So the thing we know about triangles is their angles add up to 180. So what we can do is we can say w squared plus 84 plus w plus 3w equals 180. And let's just put that together. So it's w squared plus 4w plus 84 equals 180. Now, with quadratics, whenever we're looking to solve, we want to have it equal to 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to take away the 180 from both sides, so it equals 0. So we've got the w squared plus the 4w, but we want to take away the 180 from it, which will give us minus 96 equals 0. So with quadratics, when we're trying to solve them, we need to put them into brackets. And to do that, we need two numbers that add together to make the 4 here and multiply together to make the 96 here. So just going through different numbers for 96, and you can try different ones. The first letter in the bracket would be w, first thing in the bracket would be w. And I think it's going to be, well, it's going to be a positive and a negative to get that negative there. 96 is 12 and 8, so it would have to be, let's have a think. It'd have to be a positive 12 and a negative 8 to add together to make a positive 4. And 12 times minus 8 is minus 96. That works. And to solve, we look at the left-hand side first and get that equal to 0. So w plus 12 equals 0, and then solve it. Take our lines in. Take away 12 both sides. W equals minus 12. And we get the left-hand or the right-hand side. Get that equal to 0. W minus 8 equals 0. Lines in. Add 8 both sides. W equals 8. Now we've got two answers here, but it says value of w. Well, we can't have a negative angle. So we know we're looking for w to be positive. So the answer must be 8. To add column vectors, all we need to do is add the tops and add the bottoms. So 3 plus 7 is 10, and 4 plus minus, or just 4 minus 5, is minus 1. So our answer is 10 minus 1. So we're going to start by doing a grid, a multiplication grid, and we're going to start by putting 2x plus 11 at the top and 5x plus 3 down the side. And we're going to multiply them out, so 5 times 2 is 10, so it would be 10x squared. 5x times 11, so 5 times 11 is 55, so that would be 55x, and it's positive. And 3 times 2 is 6, so that would be 6x, and that's positive. And 3 times 11 is 33, and that would be a positive. So when we put them all together, we get 10x squared plus 55x plus 6x plus 33. You can see that the x terms are like terms, so we can add them together. So we get 10x squared plus 61x plus 33. So our answer will be 10x squared plus 61x plus 33. So the first thing I ask myself is, what has happened to this shape? Well, it's actually changed size. So we are looking at an enlargement. And the next thing I need is the scale factor. So the scale factor is, well, let's have a look at the squares at the bottom. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's changed to 2. So 4 times what is 2? Well, that's going to be a half. So it's actually halved. And last thing I need is the center of enlargement. And those are coordinates. Now to find those coordinates, we join up our two triangles. Let's try and get a good, there we go. And we just join up like for like points. So I'm going to join up the two tops, and I'm going to join up the two right angle parts, and I'm going to join up the bottom right part as well. And you notice that they all cross at this coordinate here, and that's actually our center of enlargement, so that's going to be 8 minus 7. Something we know about rectangles is opposite sides are equal, so these two will be equal. And these two will be equal. And you notice now that we've got simultaneous equations. So what I'm going to do is get the coefficient of the y the same. And I'm going to do that by multiplying everything in the second equation by 3. So we get 6x plus 9y equals 123. And I'm just going to write in the first equation underneath, because with simultaneous equations we work downwards. Now looking at the signs, they are the same, and the s in same is the s in subtract. So we're going to subtract going downwards. We're just going to subtract going downwards. So 6x take away 3x is 3x. 9y take away 9y is nothing, which is good. That's what we need. And then 123 take away 93 is 30. We're going to get our solving lines in, and we're just going to divide by 3 both sides. So we've got x equals 10. So we know what x is, but we need to find out what y is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one of the equations. I could pick the 2x plus 3y equals 41, and just substitute the value of x in. So 2 times, instead of x, it's times 10, plus 3y equals 41. So it would be 20 plus 3y equals 41. Get my solving lines in. And we're going to take away 20 both sides. So we've got 3y equals 21. And then we're going to divide by 3 both sides, if I don't run out of room. So y equals 7. So we've got x equals 10, y equals 7. Now I could check that with the first equation as well. So 3 times 10 is 30, 9 times 7 is 63, 30 plus 63 is 93. So we know we've got it right. For us, you can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing